Hi everyone, this is Joel Artizawa and this is my digital short. 2 years ago in October, there were many wildfires that have struck the Northern Bay Area. There is this one particular fire that caused so much devastation in the region. This wildfire was called the Tubbs Fire. Now presently there is an issue over the wildfire which consists of a civil trial between PG&E and the wildfire victims. This civil trial wants to see who and what has liability over this tragedy. PG&E is supposedly to blame for the Tubbs fire. The judge who is handling their bankruptcy, Judge Dennis Montali, is allowing for this civil trial to commence. However, the company has its right to argue in this particular issue. Through extensive claims that PG&E has discussed, such as not being liable for the Tubbs wildfire and dealing with an extensive but helpful bankruptcy proceedings, the civil trial shouldn't be into question. The customers of PG&E could be affected by the trial on the Tubbs wildfire. This graph shows how PG&E could raise their bills for their potential customers. If the trial does happen, then PG&E could raise these prices even more so that they can have enough money to pay off what the trial will cost them for payment. This will enrage the customers because of not having enough money to cover their overall bills. This next photo indicates that through the trial, PG&E will want more money and the overall sales of energy from PG&E will go down. The customers won't want to do business with PG&E anymore because of raising the prices if the trial happens. The customers will instead turn to other sources of energy like solar power, which will be bad business for PG&E. Next, we have the workers of PG&E can also be affected if the civil trial happens against the company. In this photo, we see hard-working PG&E employees. Under the plan of reorganization that PG&E has come up with, the company wants to take care of their employees through these issues like the Tubbs fire. If the trial occurs against the company, PG&E won't be able to give the benefits to these very deserving employees. This next photo shows workers striking against their company. This could be the action that PG&E workers will take if the trial on the Tubbs fire occurs due to not getting their benefits. If this happens, PG&E will lose their workforce, which is the building base of how the company runs its own operations to provide reliable and sustainable energy to many Californians. Also, the company as a whole could become more in debt from the trial. In this first chart, it shows how the overall liability of wildfires have taken a punch to PG&E in 2019. With this evidence, we can see that with the trial, PG&E could potentially have more liabilities. This will then entail that PG&E's overall finances will be down and the company will be in serious debt. This next chart shows the history of PG&E's revenue and liabilities over the years, specifically 1996 to 2018. As we can see, while the PG&E's revenue rises just a bit, their total liabilities raises tremendously. With the trial on the Tubbs wildfire, the overall revenue could potentially fall dramatically and the liabilities will increase very much, which is a horrible debt situation for PG&E as a business. Next, PG&E is already working on plans to compensate the victims of all wildfires. This picture shows PG&E announcing that they are taking full responsibility already in providing superior benefits for the many wildfires that already occurred in California. The company's other plan does include the Tubbs wildfire victims. The company has also not forgotten about them in their plan of reorganization, but if the trial goes on, this will be a big obstacle to follow these promises. The meme depicted here tells that PG&E will probably pay $1 billion to every area that is damaged, including the Tubbs area. This is also under their ongoing plans to compensate the victims financially. If the trial does happen, then the company will have to sacrifice even more money towards the trial, which could have gone to their currently ongoing and potentially successful plans for compensation. PG&E could go through the bankruptcy way faster in order to go back to providing reliable energy without the civil trial occurring. This photo is the company's slogan that they run their operations by every day. PG&E works tremendously hard in providing reliable energy to function our great state. If the trial occurs, this will let down PG&E's entire company platform on making California more superior with an even more longer bankruptcy process to deal with. This will not let PG&E be the company that we want to have. This next photograph is a map depicting the very different communities that PG&E is serving. Their ultimate mission of the company is to provide these different places with power to make a difference in California. Without the trial, PG&E could go through their own bankruptcy quickly in order to go back to making more impactful differences and changing the lives in these communities through their sufficient energy sources. Also, the trial could be a setback for PG&E to participate in the State Wildfire Fund. In this particular photo, we see a California flag flying over the wildfires. This symbolizes the State Wildfire Fund and how it will strengthen California in future wildfires. If the trial occurs, PG&E won't be able to make plans to be under this strong and helpful initiative, which does help rebuild the damages and give money for the victims in future fires. In this next photo, we can see here Gavin Newsom, our great governor, is signing the Wildfire Fund into effect. He believes the utility companies in the state and the government will work in unison under this fund to battle any future wildfires. If this trial does occur, PG&E could let down this promise because of not being able to provide for this fund. Next, we have PG&E could lose a substantial amount of stocks because of the trial. In this first photo, it shows a chart showing the stocks of PG&E when the wildfires occurred. This could be based off of public opinions flourishing when these events happen. If the trial occurs, the overall price of PG&E stocks could become really cheap and less valuable for people to buy, which will be unacceptable for the company in terms of economics. This next chart shows how wildfire liabilities affected the stocks in 2018. As we can see, as wildfire liabilities increase, the stock prices decreased, which does entail how the amount of stocks bought come into play. The trial occurring could put more potential liabilities and will indefinitely decrease the amount of stocks bought. Without the civil trial on the Tubbs wildfire, PG&E could finally get a break from being blamed for causing so many wildfires. This first picture is a cartoon showing power lines supplying energy. As the caption entails, as we see wildfires like the Tubbs wildfire, we use cognitive bias to say that PG&E is the quote-unquote the usual suspect. This form of public relations always makes the company look terrible in every way. If the trial doesn't occur, then the company will have a better public relation on their part, and we won't lose a really good company that does power most of our homes and businesses in the state of California. This next picture is of a news reporting a wildfire. We often use the news as a first instinct source of information on everything. If the trial doesn't occur, PG&E will be more trusted instead of being harshly accused of so much hate that is not all true. This gives the company the opportunity to be the best company for us in California again.
The evidence supports the conclusion that this equipment located beyond PG&E's service delivery point was planned, designed, installed, maintained, and operated by third parties, not PG&E.
Here we have that PG&E does claim and confirm that a third party is responsible for starting the Tubbs wildfire, not them, which is why the trial shouldn't happen. This photograph shows the early stages of the fire near Bennett Lane in Calistoga, California. This proves that the fires did actually start near the property PG&E claims to be the cause. Also, the house that owned the equipment that started the whole fire was near where the photograph was taken. This next photograph shows PG&E workers investigating the property in Calistoga, California. This shows that PG&E made sure their evidence is on point in investigating the cause of the Tubbs wildfire. This photo also shows that PG&E is making their claims very seriously, in which to say that the trial shouldn't happen at all. On the other hand, Judge Dennis Montali would argue that these victims of the Tubbs wildfire will get the justice they deserve after a very devastating natural disaster. In this first photograph, we see two Tubbs wildfire victims returning to their properties. They look worried, shocked, and saddened by this traumatic fire. Through this, Judge Montali really wants to help these victims as best as he can because of how it was the most destructive fire during that time period. Next, we have a photo showing a before and after comparison of the Tubbs wildfire destruction. As we can see, these houses were in good condition, but then were annihilated after the Tubbs fire. Judge Dennis Montali believes that allowing the trial to go through will help these specific victims rebuild their properties and dreams that they have lost.